is not going to work. There is a difference between legal attitude and moral attitude. In legal attitude, normally people want to secure their own interests. And the only time they can give up is when they are forced by law, maybe a state law, maybe religious law. But just because they are forced, they say, okay, I am ready to give up this part of my interest, this part of my freedom to the other party because this is the right of that person. Of course, here again there is a difference between Islamic legal system and the secular legal system. In the Islamic legal system, you yourself must be volunteer to give the people their rights. But in secular legal system, you don't need to make any effort. Just if people claim, you have to give them their rights. So if someone doesn't know that he has such a right, they don't bother. Or if he knows and doesn't make claim. But in Islamic legal system, if you know that there is such a right for your employee, for your children, for your spouse, for your neighbor, or whatever, you must yourself make sure that you give this right to the person. So here, even in legal system, there is a difference between Islam and secular systems. But still, legal approach, even if it is Islamic legal approach, is not enough. If you say, okay, I just want to act according to Risale. These are the rights of women, these are the rights of husband. That's it. There is nothing more than that that I want to commit myself. And there is no legal requirement that you should, for example, spend some time in home just talking, laughing, telling, for example, stories, going to holidays. These are not legal requirements. You just very clearly know what is the rights of women, rights of men, and you say, okay, this is what we are going to do. And sometimes if one party fails to observe the rights of the other party wants to do some kind of compensation for himself by not giving the other party what he or she deserves. And this is totally wrong. And this is absolutely mistake. Not only because the person by doing this will not be able to have good kind of family life. No, even by doing this you will not be able to secure your basic interest. If you think that by following this approach you can secure your interest, this is mistake. What we need is to look at marriage from another perspective. Islam teaches us that in dealing with other people, we must always go beyond legal requirements. For example, a very important value, I first talk about general Islamic social relations, and then I come to marriage. In my relation with my friends, with my brothers and sisters in faith, Islam says a very important value and virtue is to give priority to others. This is what we call ithar. If I have something which is totally myself, belongs to me, but I see my brother or sister is in need of that, there is no legal requirement that I should give this to the person. But Islam says it's much better that if you give priority to the other person. As the Quran says, يُؤْثَرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. Allah praises the people who give what they have and what they deserve to other people, although they themselves are in great need. وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. It's not because they have plenty and they say, okay, I'm, anyway not going to use this because I have so much. So I have, for example, 10 different kinds of, for example, food, and I'm giving one of them to the person who is needy. No, I have only one dish, and I see my brother or sister is in need. So I'm going to give this to my brother and sister. As you know, also a very obvious case was the case of Ahlul Bayt, when for 3 successive days, whatever they had, they offered to the person who was needy, the person who was orphan, the person who was captive. So it's much more different than saying what you legally want from me, what I am legally forced to give to you. No, it's totally different world. I myself look for some ways of giving to the people. Instead of waiting for the people to come and ask me, I should be looking for people to whom I can give something. And if our relations are really Islamic, more than the person who receives, the person who gives must thank. Because the person who gives is in need of the favor of the receiver to accept. If they don't accept, so how can you achieve this reward of giving? So the Islamic way of establishing social relations is based on akhlaq and on the culture of giving, not just taking. One of the things that we find about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's good to remember in these days, which is the months of the Rabiul Awwal, and we are going to soon have the birthday of the Prophet. One of the companions of the Prophet was asked to describe the Prophet, and one of the things he said was that the Prophet was Qalilul Ma'una, Kathirul Ma'una. The first is with Hamza, the second is with Ain. It means that the Prophet was trying and doing his best not to make any trouble for anyone. So he was not a burden on other people. Whenever, for example, they were traveling and they wanted, for example, to stop and make, for example, food, the Prophet himself was taking some part. He wanted to contribute. He didn't want to be served. But at the same time, he was Kathirul Ma'una. He was always available to assist. So he was expecting from people the least and available to give the most. This was the character of the Prophet. And this is the character of proper Muslim. Or for example, we have about Muslims, the way they have financial relation. If, for example, a Muslim borrows from another person, one of the qualities which we are recommended is to be Sahlul Qada'i wal Iqtada. A mu'min, when he owes some money, he's in debt to someone and must give back the money to that person, he must be very easy and very quick in giving that money back. So if you lend money to some mu'min, you must not be worried. The mu'min, as quick as possible, would give you the money back. And on the other hand, when he himself has lent money to some people, and that person wants to give him back, that person also must not have worry, because he knows that that moment